And so I'm also streaming with a high quality webcam. So maybe if this continues to mess up, then I'll just go to my computer uh, computer camera, and hopefully we won't have to run into that. But if that it does come to that,
All right. And with that, we are live, and I'm pleased to
sick.
have Chessmaster Steven with me. We've had a few technical difficulties, as you might have just heard. But yeah, I'm really glad you made it. I'm glad you could make it. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a beautiful day here in California, and I'm excited to chat and get to playing some chess, pushing some pawns, as they say.
That is going to be part of it. First, I sort of want to tell everybody how I found you, or why find you like to be such a great guest here. Um,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
the first, I think, maybe it was December or something. It was like I was sort of new to the DEX and the whole ecosystem, although I had invested in Elrond a year earlier. Like I was like sort of just looking for information, and then I found this great account that didn't just post like some TA with some lines and like being like, there you go. But you had these great threads that were like sometimes mega threads of like 30 tweets basically
Yeah.
explaining and zooming in and zooming out and sort of explaining and educating people at the same time about what technical analysis is, what it can do, how you can make it or use it as a tool, right? So that's sort of like what I thought was really the great contribution that you did for everybody who was coming into the space, maybe interacted with crypto for the first time in their lives. So yeah, super glad to hear you and talk to you and maybe get into some of that TA from the last few weeks that have been
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. It's sitting behind a computer screen, especially a platform like Twitter with a bunch of, profile pictures, some use real faces, some not. So it's always great to hear whenever, obviously speaking to you, that you actually, saw those threads and they drew your attention and hopefully you learn something then. And, every day is a new day for me to pump out another thread. So I always do my best, and it's kind of like that imposter syndrome. It's like I don't know if people are getting use out of this, but I really hope so. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also your name says it right. The economistic. There's a mystical element to all this TA. You can get it as accurate, and your predictions might be perfect in terms of the past, but it's still there is no solving the future, unfortunately, right?
Yeah, and I probably you've seen me at least talk about being like always bullish, like a perma bull.
Mm-hmm.
Like, call me the boy who cried wolf. Like I've tried to call bottom several times along this kind of path down from 69,000. Because so the way I kind of start with the market for now is always going to kind of start with Bitcoin, given that it's at the highest market cap and it's the top dog or whatever. So yeah, ever since Bitcoin topped off at 69K and just, chugging down, it's like I have hope. Like everybody, come on, like just trust the process. And I mean, my stance doesn't really waver much from that. It might continue to go down, but I don't know. I've found value in a certain strategy, so hopefully I can get that point across, and hopefully down the road people can look back on these times and be like, all right, this is what worked for me. Maybe I learned this from Steven, or not. So it's all for the fun and empowerment of the community, I guess.
So let's start with your journey and how you even got into all of this. I mean, you're still pretty young, but you were very young when you got into crypto. Can you talk about like how you found Bitcoin and other coins, and then yeah,
Totally.
describe your journey a little bit.
Yeah, have you seen the podcast that I have with my buddy Alec,
Yeah,
podcast Elrond? Shout out.
yeah. I was going to
That
plug
was
that anyway.
well, I mean, it's such a part of the story because so Alec is my friend from college. He and I met freshman year. We went to school in Kansas, where I'm from originally, and we met in the dorms. And he was good friends with my roommate. Long story short, I guess fast forwarding to 2017. It was towards the end of summer 2017, and I remember like vividly. I was in my college town where Alec lived at the time, and meeting up with him. We were getting Chipotle, and basically he was just talking to like he was just blown away at that point. That year went on to hit 20,000 for the first time. So when I found it, or rather when Alec, getting to the punchline, Alec told me about Bitcoin at that Chipotle. And at that point, I think it was only about maybe $2,000, or maybe 3,000 or so. And he was just like so like kind of mind blown at what was going on. I mean, at that point, Bitcoin was even, all the more just kind of like skeptical, or people were skeptical
Yeah, for
about it
sure.
at that time. And I have a YouTube video on the podcast Elrond YouTube that talks a little bit more about this. So I guess I'll keep it shorter, and then if either you or anyone watching wants to check that out. But yeah, basically he told me about it. He was just like, I can't believe how this is like, it's just growing and growing and growing. And he told me how he saw it, like, I can't remember how low he saw it, but that year alone, he was like, just this year alone, it was like, under 1,000.
Mm.
So literally like on the spot at this Chipotle, I'm just like, I don't know. I just like, he sold me on it, and I pulled out Coinbase. So I guess I downloaded Coinbase like right on the spot, and then I bought some. I don't think I bought any Ethereum, but I did buy some Bitcoin and Litecoin. Were those like two initial cryptocurrency purchases I
Yeah.
made?
Do you remember how
And
much you invested?
oh man, like at that point, it was probably around maybe like $100 to
Yeah,
$200.
yeah,
But like just as soon as I bought it, like I mean, I didn't understand anything about it at that point. Like Alec basically shilled it to me, like hyped me up on like what's going on. I'm like, I'm intrigued, like I'll buy some. But like I immediately like thought I felt like I did something illegal.
yeah.
Like it felt just like so inherently wrong. Something about it just felt weird. It had to do with the fact that I didn't know much about it, but it was just like, did I just like give my money away to like this computer app? Like it literally felt just like, I don't know. I was so skeptical.
Yeah, yeah. I remember, I mean, I think the first time that Bitcoin was offered to me was at a bar in
Hmm.
Berlin in like 2015, 2016. Can that be?
Yeah.
Something like that. And they offered to just send me a Bitcoin. I was like, what? How?
Damn.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if they ever did.
Hmm.
Because I didn't have an address at the time because I didn't know what the hell it was. And it was like this
Hmm.
weird crypto bar or like tech bar where
Mm.
a bunch of strange people met. And I was there because of a because of like a party that was doing like that was like for like privacy and digital democracy kind of stuff, which I thought was really interesting. And obviously, Bitcoin weirdos were to be found there as well.
Mm.
So yeah, that was my first experience. But then yeah, I mean, same story for me. I think I invested, I don't know, like $100 into Bitcoin and Ethereum on Coinbase, but 2 years
Hmm.
later than you did. So
So you kind of heard about it. There was some offer of somebody offering you one whole Bitcoin,
yeah,
but you kind of just shoved it under the rug and didn't
I
kind
did.
of
Yeah, I didn't
rekindle
understand
that
it.
for some time.
Yeah, it scared me. I mean, it was or it was the same feeling. It's like I don't understand what, and this guy didn't really do a good job at selling me on it because
Mm.
he was
Hmm.
just like really like too deep in it and too nerdy to explain it. Like the sort of the exact opposite of you, right? Like you are at a good level. You have a lot of technical understanding, I'm sure, but like you can still sort of break it down to someone else. If you're that deep in it, and like if you're from the dev side, sometimes it's really hard to translate your
Hmm.
excitement into something that is actionable for anybody who doesn't have a deep
Totally.
technical knowledge, right? So yeah, how did you go from there, from the $200 invested at Chipotle? I love Chipotle. Yeah, a
Yeah,
nice
that's
twist
that
too.
that that Chipotle meeting will go down in infamy. So basically after that, the next couple months, Bitcoin was just on its tear to 20,000, and I kind of learned more, and at that point I kind of started buying altcoins and getting a little bit carried away.
Hmm.
And actually, I mean, following the kind of bubble of 20K in 2017, I definitely got carried away with some altcoins, and I ended up finding. I mean, I made some gains. I mean, so it's funny because I don't mean to like talk crap on any other cryptocurrency, but like I have personal history with Cardano. Like I have, like Cardano was the first like investment in crypto that actually kind of like was legitimate, and I kind of like had some gains in Cardano. And I'll be transparent about this just because it'll kind of depict kind of where I was. And, I'm a college student at this point. This is 2017, so that would put me around, I think, junior year,
Mm.
third year of college, so maybe like 20 or 21, probably 21 at that point, maybe 20. But so I put money in Bitcoin and some Litecoin, and then got into altcoins, and eventually like I just kind of like it was truly a gamble. I just like had 2,000 extra dollars, and it was just there, for expenses. And I threw it into Cardano at like 2.9 cents, like 3 cents. And so I bought Cardano super duper early. Like it could have even been less than that. And then Bitcoin started to like tear, and then I FOMO'd into Bitcoin out of Cardano,
Hmm.
and then I missed my $2,000 move, or sorry, I missed my $2,000 moving with Cardano from like 2.5 cents to like it may have pushed like 13 or 14 cents, which is like a 4 or 5x,
Yeah.
which would have turned my two into 10 or so, and like
A
that
huge
was
amount
my
of money for a
first.
college student, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. So I missed that, and I was like, I don't want to cuss or anything if that's not allowed on the
You're
channel.
fine. No, we've cussed a lot here.
Cool. But I was like, I mean, at that point, I was like, fuck, like I FOMO'd into Bitcoin because I was like, why do I own Cardano whenever Bitcoin is going off, So I sold out, missed the move, and then I was like, I put my fist down, like, fuck it, like I'm buying back into Cardano once it dips. Like
Hmm.
this is before I got into any like learning about technical analysis or even like buying the dip type, verbiage. And I was just like, I'm just gonna find a place to buy back into Cardano. And I did, and eventually rode. I turned my $2,000 into $8,000. And kind of once I kind of realized that legitimate gain, I rode. I made that good trade. I mean, at that point, we're like deep in the month of December, and I'm throwing like the house's money at that point on
Yeah.
just all these random shit coins, like just straight shit coins. And I happened to pick one that, I mean, it's such a shit coin because like it was just so illiquid. Like I bought some. It was this cryptocurrency called Electra, ECA, and I bought it really low. And basically, my like paper value, like I don't think there was ever any money actually there to cash out on, but at the top. I basically started at 2000, and on paper, like I said, it probably wasn't actually liquid, but my portfolio went to like 120K.
Wow.
And again, like it was just this random shit coin that literally just popped off, and like it was only on one exchange, and the exchange like could not handle the volume that it got because it was just so much so quickly.
Mm.
And I actually started like working with that cryptocurrency. I ran their social media, like I was doing like advertising and marketing, like making posts like on Photoshop, and
Hmm.
trying to like I was like a community kind of a manager type thing.
How did you get in
Um,
touch with them? Like, was that Twitter, or how did they even, or how did you
that's
meet them?
that's such a good question. I know that there was some Discord action going on.
Yeah.
I might, I mean, we're live now, so I'll have to get back to you if you're curious, because I can't quite remember it. I'm sure it had something to do with Twitter. But I mean, back in, 2017, I'm struggling to remember, what medium I did kind of get connected with them. It may have been Telegram too.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's fascinating. So you basically traded your way up from that, and all of a sudden you're a college student who has somewhere, not on paper, but somewhere out there, a
Hmm.
huge sum of money
Hmm.
that you're now trading with. And is that when you started taking it seriously and getting into the TA and like maybe doing some research on shitcoins before buying them?
Yeah, I mean, it was so disappointing because, I literally just caught kind of the trail end of that huge bubble in 2017, and from there, like, I mean, that's really where kind of like this perma bull mentality of mine really got its start. Was I got in at the end, and even though so this Electra that turned my, portfolio like tenfold again, like I at that point I think I even had the coins off of the exchange, so I was never in a place where I was like, oh, like I'm about ready to sell this and start moving all this money I have.
Yeah.
Like it was such like BS gains. And then, for the like literally for the next year, price was sideways. It would have its kind of like pushes, and I envisioned the historical Bitcoin chart and the way it kind of made that descending triangle, and then about a year. It was like November of 2018 is where it really just full on capitulated. It was kind of building this floor of support. Can't quite remember where that was. And, it kept kind of bouncing off that level. And then it tightened. And then it just like capitulated. And that started its drop from, it was probably close to like 8 to, or probably like 10 down to like 3,200, which is where that bottom kind of occurred. And like at that point, I wasn't being like devout in watching people online and stuff. I was still, even at that point, still trying to develop my own idea and my own strategy per se.
Hmm.
But I mean, that was the area of like BitConnect, and do you remember BitConnect?
A little bit. I got into crypto in 2019 sort of by accident.
Got you,
So
got
I
you.
missed out on some of the excitement beforehand.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was the whole original like ICO craze and a lot of rug pulls on that regard. And then, this BitConnect was like a big Ponzi at the time, but there were some influencers on like YouTube and Twitter that were just, I mean, literally all they were just like egging the whole crowd on of just like, like don't sell, just like, hold. And I can't remember, exactly the phrase or whatever. But I was just like, cool, like this person seemed to have found some success by not selling.
Hmm.
So that really is what led me to, for the entirety of 2018. And then, from there, it hit the bottom and it was still sideways. And then it randomly kind of popped off for the first time, probably moving now into 2019, early in 2019. But yeah, like, I mean, kind of truthfully, like I've never sold like ever since like those days. Like I just kept buying, and as we were in this bear market, after the $20,000 Bitcoin popped, I was just like, all right, like I didn't see it then, but looking back on it, it was like, all right, now's my time to kind of like build my foundation of knowledge, build my foundation of understanding, both from a fundamental standpoint as well as, naturally, like technical analysis. Because at the time I was studying, I changed my major a few times. I ended in finance. So
Hmm.
at that point, I took some classes that were just like economics, like microeconomics. So I had a taste of that sort of realm of understanding to where I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is just like, behavioral economics. And, that's really kind of like where this, even to this day, like this economistic name came from, is because like, yes, like you have the textbook definitions of these things, and, like how price is decided on, and but it kind of always fell back on the human,
Hmm.
and humans are unpredictable, and the world around us is unpredictable. So to me, it just kind of became this journey of like, how do these two worlds kind of mesh, of like, the textbook definitions of what to expect and how things behave, kind of on paper, but then, like kind of just like throwing that all to the wayside because it's humans at the end of the day,
Yeah.
which are just entirely unpredictable. So yeah, I think that might answer some. I'll leave there just to keep myself from getting too long-winded.
No, but that is really interesting. Also explains sort of how you always feature that approach in both sort of factoring in some of the market psychological factors into your analysis and like
Yeah.
the technical analysis cannot really, you can't read charts without trying to read humans or understand humans, right? So that psychology is obviously huge. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, you kept trading. By the way, were you putting more fiat into crypto during that time, or were you trading from Bitcoin into diversifying or selling from
Yeah.
that?
So, a year ago I quit my job. I was working for Tesla,
Mm-hmm.
and that really kind of signifies, I guess, for the now anyway, like that signifies kind of like the end of me putting my own capital into the market. And so that was like a year ago at this point that I kind of stopped putting my own money into the market. Because before that, like, I mean, it's such like a strange life that I've been in, kind of like having stepped away from the corporate working world, because like literally like ever since I was a kid, like I don't know if I was like driven by money or what exactly like ignited me. Both of my parents are entrepreneurial in spirit, running, they have their own businesses. Like my dad does IT and my mom sells some health products. And so I have to assume that I learned some from them. But like, the first money that I made was like, when it snowed growing up in Kansas, like I was like, before I go out and like sled, like I'm gonna like go neighbor to neighbor, knock on doors and like shovel driveways for money. And like that's where it kind of started for me, because eventually every dollar that I ever kind of like saved eventually made its way to crypto.
Yeah.
And I started my own coffee business, my own photography business, and really just like, I mean, just I was just obsessed with deriving, I guess not deriving value, but I guess just like making money. I don't want to say that because it could be interpreted as kind of like, surface level. But as I said, in that 2018 bear market, it was like, I'm going to understand what's going on here. And it just made more and more sense for me to store the money that I was making and the money that I had made, in Bitcoin. And when I say Bitcoin, I kind of mean at that point, like whatever my portfolio kind of consisted of,
Mm.
which, and, I'll say had Bitcoin, maybe some Ethereum, some top coins, but it was kind of like 20 coins. And like I was always like like nonstop. I was watching the market, and I was I'll be straight up. Like I had been trying to find the coin to flip Bitcoin, because I got to a point where it was like Bitcoin. I think it's clear that it's like a consensus that it can be improved on. So I was like, this is such a young technology. It only makes sense that there's going to be a different product that comes along that kind of does it the proper way. And I'll just go ahead and shell Elrond, because
Yeah. Go.
that's what brings us here, right?
Exactly.
Um, but
When did
yeah,
you
so
find Elrond, and how?
I it was 2019 in December, I think it was, and I bought, it was still ERD
ERD.
at
Yeah.
that point.
I found it
Yeah,
before you. I'm so proud of myself now.
nice. Yeah, I was gonna ask, did you when did you kind of find it, just to get some
I think
knowledge about
September
you?
2019.
Mm,
I got into crypto, and by that I mean Bitcoin. Uh, I think in August, and this is something that I find so interesting, or found so interesting about your Chipotle story, and the sort of like putting a little bit of money in, but because that little
mm-hmm.
bit of money, for me anyway, and I think for a lot of people, even if it's $50, even if it's $20, even if it's $10, like you have a tiny stake, and now you need to learn something about it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I put a little bit of money into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then I was like, what is this technology I just invested in? And then
Yeah.
I started learning about that. And then from there, I was like, well, there must be something that is not as slow and weird as Bitcoin, and there must be something that is not as expensive to handle as Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sort of like started looking up, I basically was on the internet, like looking at white papers and I don't have a technical background or much of a technical background. I've I know how to program Pong with Python. That's pretty much the
Hell yeah.
extent of it. Um, um, And but one thing that Elrond did for me too was like they explained the product in a way and their in the real life utility that made sense to me as a consumer, even as a consumer that doesn't have the technical background to really grasp how sharding works in detail, right?
Yeah.
But something that's like, oh, you can scale this basically indefinitely at a low cost, and the throughput is stays high and it stays reliable, and the node consensus makes it so it's safe, secure, fast, etc. So
Hmm.
that's sort of like how I found it. And the Elrond website was, I think, the first time that I actually thought something made sense. Elrond is also the
Mm.
only. Well, now I've learned a little bit more about algo, and I think that's really exciting too. But Elrond was the first and only thing I've ever recommended anyone buying. I was always like, okay,
Hmm.
if you want to hedge your risk, buy some Bitcoin, buy some Ethereum. But if you want to invest in a technology and in something that has the potential for mass adoption and like usability, then buy
Hmm.
Elrond, and that is your long term hold. And for me, it is the long term hold. But yeah, so would love to hear about how you found it, because you obviously came with a lot more background to it, and then what excited you, how that, how you then dove into it.
Totally. So, like I said, December 2019 is when I first bought some. And, at that point, it was so part of like to this day, I kind of talked about it when Elrond NFTs were popping off a great deal kind of in the past. Not to say that won't happen again. You know, the wave is
When
coming,
Bridge.
right? Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But like, I because of like where I got my start in essentially like just before this huge bubble in 2017, and then all this ICO, like, like the internet being mostly kind of like Twitter, it was so difficult to distinguish what was truly valuable because everybody was using their own voice to shill their own thing that they
Mm.
had their money in. And I mean, it was just like a whirlwind of trying to figure out really just like what was kind of valuable. So truthfully, and I even talk about it in my own threads. Like I totally confront, like, I'm a human too, and like I'm gonna behave just like another human might. And so, like, what really brought my attention to Elrond was not when I bought it, it was not whenever I first heard it, which was just on Twitter. Like, I literally just saw Scott Melker, the Wolf of All Streets, tweet about it,
Hmm.
like anybody else normally would. But he's a more kind of known name in the Twitter crypto sphere, and I was like, cool. Like, this person who is credible, and Scott Melker doesn't seem to be just this shill fanboy type guy. Like, from what I understand, like he's got some foundation. He's not just trying to shill random stuff. But I put in a little bit. But it was not until the following summer, as you're probably familiar, the mainnet went live,
Yeah.
and so I bought December 2017 somewhere around like $1 is when I first bought ERD, and it was at that point a small percentage of, like I said, like that, probably 20 different coin portfolio, and it was just one of any others just kind of sitting there. And so I also manage a couple friends' portfolios too, and just kind of help them out, because it is just one of those things that it's like I can educate you some, but at the end of the day, like, do you want me to really just like teach you and like leave it in your hands to execute on this? Or like, do you just want to kind of like, trust me and like we'll just kind of take it one step at a time? So
That sounds
this is,
hugely stressful, by the way.
yeah, it was trial by fire because just after the bubble popped, like I was full on freaking bullish, like on Excel documents, like, well, if it continues to grow like this, like I'm gonna retire like by next week.
Exactly.
And like, for real, like I am so human. Like, I was just pulled into this euphoria. They say like that, that psychological trading is like the top is like euphoric, and it's
Hmm.
like 100%. Like, I was like, what the hell? Like, my life just transformed, you know? And so, of course, I wanted to bring in, friends and like tell them about freaking Electrocoin, back in 2018. So I had some trial by fire. I always told people the same thing, do your own research, don't invest in anything you can't afford to lose. But nobody really does that,
Mm.
like, because, low risk or like if you don't put much in, like, how much is it really going to grow to? Another conversation. But it's just, yeah, I had some
Well,
friends put
sometimes
in some money.
120K.
Yeah, yeah. You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had some friends put in some money because I kind of like shilled just it to them, it being cryptocurrency. And the next year was a bear market, and like they were like upset at me.
Mm.
And I was like telling them what I'm doing. It's like, yeah, like it is what it is. Like things didn't go the way that I thought they were and you did, but like I'm gonna support my position. I understand the value proposition of this asset, and people just couldn't stick with it. Like people couldn't stick with it, whether it be like my mentality and what I was trying to kind of like convey to them, or just their own kind of like fortitude. So it probably wasn't until probably 2019 that I kind of this friend of mine, and he's a longtime friend, and like I like gave him such. I gave it to him like so firmly, like, do not invest what you can't, because this was like a good friend of mine, and the very last thing I ever want to do, and especially with this friend at that time, was like, again, like, I don't want you to get like financially injured per se.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he literally gave me just like he literally gave me what he could afford to lose, and like literally like he gave it to me at like a perfect time because his portfolio is still sitting pretty, and he was like super stoked at how it turned out. But yeah, basically I was for rewinding back to the question. I bought some in 2019 in December, and this friend of mine I was just referring to, I bought a little bit of ERD for him too.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I was kind of just diversifying his portfolio, semi mirroring my own portfolio, but his was a little bit more like risk averse.
Yeah.
So I wasn't kind of putting into maybe some other riskier moves. So fast forward to that summer, he and I actually went on a road trip together, and like it's just like serendipitous, I guess is maybe the word, because like we're going on this road trip and kind of like preparing to leave, and this was from Denver at that point, and like this is the first time I kind of got that taste of euphoria once again that I had back in 2017, was whenever Elrond, went from $1. And at that point, I didn't have as much as obviously I wish that I did, but it went to like 30, 32, maybe $34.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was just like a rewind, and I was like, fuck yeah, baby, like we're back. Like I fucking knew this would happen, like forget all of like the underlying fundamentals. Like the thing that spoke to me the most about Bitcoin was limited supply. Like limited supply, some utility. It's maybe not perfect. It maybe has room to grow, but like in my head, simply, I think demand for this asset is going to slowly, collect more people who are interested. And what? Like there's a limited supply. There's only so much to go around. And that's really what convicted me from the start. And then obviously Elrond mirrors that same idea of a limited supply. Hashtag Luna, hashtag RIP. But yeah, so
Should we
that's
talk
that
about
summer.
that?
Totally, totally. I'll end by saying that, yeah, so that summer, after it took off, and it pushed high into mainnet, the launch that is, like at that point, like I was just dollar cost averaging like my entire portfolio, like, and it wasn't like, I'm gonna just throw all of it in at Elrond, I'm gonna FOMO in. Like thankfully at that point I kind of, got to a point in my own kind of trading maturity, I'll call it, to where I understood how to properly find entries, find positions, dollar cost average, what that is doing, not from a numbers perspective, because to me me, the mental is all the more important. And dollar cost average is great because it truly does have a effect to lower, or rather just average out your entry, your the amount you paid for these assets altogether. But like it is a psychological tool. And so every time it dipped, it ended up going down to like $6. But yeah, so I was just taking all of those 20 coins and pretty much just like, the more I was watching these other coins and the more I was looking at Elrond and learning more and comparing and contrasting and still keeping my eyes open, which is continuous still to this day, of like what value might be out there, what other things might be coming along. And like literally like my money moved to what made sense. And slowly but surely, like Elrond captured, I'll say like 95%. There's maybe a little bit on the edges. And then eventually staking went live, which I joined like the delegators queue.
Yeah. The
So
legacy staking back in the day.
yeah, so that was like pre-staking, and it was like, all right, like I was used to just like, you hold Bitcoin and the value you derive is the value of the asset. And it's like, okay, I can hold Elrond, which I feel good about from a fundamental perspective. And they're also going to like toss some Elrond at me. And then like in a few months, like staking is going to go live.
And not
it's going
insignificant. It was like 25% in the beginning or something, right? APY?
I can't quite, I know that I
APR.
remember it was it was once every 7 days, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a daily distribution, was it?
I think you could claim it every epoch, which
Okay.
I think was no. I think you're right. I think it may have been 7 days, but it's such a long
Okay.
time ago, and we've come such a long now.
Yeah.
Now it's 24 hours. I think. Yeah.
I could be wrong. Fact checkers, do your
Yeah.
work. But yeah, so it was
Someone
like
remembers. Tell us in chat. Yeah.
exactly. But I mean, I remember when, and I'll leave some space here. I keep on, just getting excited and talking about the story, because like I was working for Tesla when staking went live. And as it went live, and I was earning staking rewards, and after all of the Elrond, I was able to accrue like on a regular basis. Like it got to a point where I was making more money from staking
Yeah.
than I was in a whole day of working for Tesla. And like at that point, it was like, fuck, like that's when the questions really started for me as to like, what am I doing and is it worth it, kind of thing. Like just kind of being a corporate sellout in a way. So I'll leave it at that.
Well,
I threw a lot at you.
that's and I actually do want, since you're such an expert on the ecosystem and everything that is there, I do want to kind of keep with Elrond and talk a little bit more about what
Yeah.
you see in the future too. But just
You
to
are the
that
leader.
point, what's that?
I said, you are the leader. Lead away.
Well, just to backtrack a little bit, you were talking about like you don't want to sound greedy or whatever earlier, and I think that's an important moment you just highlighted, where you see like you can actually sustain yourself off of some without having to be a corporate sellout or whatever. You don't have to be
Yeah.
as harsh in your judgment as you just were, but that to me is such a big thing about the Elrond or the crypto appeal in general, or the Web3 appeal, call it, that you actually can sustain yourself and make a living without having to constantly compromise your values, or having to do something or work for a company you don't agree with, or for a boss you hate, or that kind of stuff. So that sort of financial freedom, maybe you want to say 2 sentences about that, and then we'll move on to your favorite Zoid Pay and stuff like that.
Who told you about ZoidPay? Yeah.
You did,
Gosh.
Steven.
Yeah, so I mean, what is there to say? I guess I'm trying to encapsulate kind of like, what you just kind of highlighted there, and thinking of something to throw back. Because yeah, I mean, like it's like a deep philosophical kind of like really personal question to me, because there's an aspect of living off of cryptocurrency that is it's a dilemma for me, from a standpoint of like I'm a Twitter influencer, whatever you want to call it. Like I have a voice, as we all do. That's the way I see it. And I own more of this asset than people who are kind of maybe starting now. So, I mean, it's just like a dilemma because like I quit my job and I stepped away and I have this financial freedom. And it's like you're just like an online shiller just trying to keep, you're just like trying to keep up the exit liquidity.
Mm.
And like there's like that dilemma of that side, but it's like, yo, like this I'm not doing shit to the market. Like Elrond is doing it for itself, and I'm just trying to show people that you can push the limits. And I guess the one thing I will kind of I'll leave it at that, and I will say too that in my college days, and like I really learned how to, unsurprisingly, and all the while I was buying cryptocurrency, like yo, like my budget was so low. Like I spent as little money as possible because I wanted as much money to buy a Bitcoin as possible. So like it's been a weird transition as I went from like this basically just like bare bones kind of like lifestyle of like, I'm gonna do everything as cheaply as I can. I'm going to try to not cut corners, but try to reduce expenses and try to be a good steward of every dollar that I have. Like think twice and think three times about every dollar that I spend. And it was that mentality that helped me gain that position, and then it was that mentality that also allowed me to step away from my job. It was a part of it was, yes, I saved money in crypto and the staking is helping, but I also knew I was well familiar with what it took for me to survive and kind of like that dollar amount that I needed and could live off of. And for years I had worked to push that down, push that down, push that down. So whenever it was clear just like my savings and my expenses were just like at that point just so contrasted. It was like, all right, I'm going to step away from working because this is a crazy opportunity, and I don't know, I need to step away and like kind of like recalculate or something.
Yeah.
That was way more than two sentences.
That is fair. You're the guest. You're still the king of this show. So let's talk about the future. There was this exciting
Yeah.
tweet, I think yesterday, right? The Benjamin Minshew sent, hinting at the bridge, obviously, the NFT marketplace being just around the corner, many other things. What are some of the like things you think will drive adoption? Where do you see Elrond going in the future? What are some of the projects you're most excited about? I gave you 3 questions, so you can talk for 10 minutes.
Oh damn! Don't
No,
don't
I'm
open
just,
the mic
I'm
like
just
that.
kidding.
Okay,
2
good.
sentences on this.
2 sentences, perfect, just like last time.
Exactly.
What am I? I probably talk about this enough, kind of on the podcast Elrond, because it's like it's really difficult to just like nail down one thing I'm most excited about. And just full kind of disclaimer here, I know that I've had opinions about LockMex and Mex and some of these new parts of the ecosystem, but like yo, like I am madly freaking bullish on all of it. And just because I have my money allocated in a certain way should not speak what I believe about the future of Elrond or the Maiar decks or anything, because I don't know, like
Do you want to sum up your, since you're on that, let's sum
mhm.
up your criticism of locked mechs and how that works and why you think and why you chose to sell your locked mechs or swap it for liquid assets.
Yeah. So probably the main one is really, I mean, it segues well into what we just talked about. Like I'm living off of cryptocurrency, and I have been through long-term bear markets, and in whether you've heard me say it or heard me like or seen me type it, like I'll say it now again, is like I acknowledge that I swapped my locked mechs because I'm impatient. Like I said, like I'm a human, and I have my own strategy based off of where I am in life and so forth. It's a very personal thing for each individual, me and you and everybody else out
Not
there.
financial
Like
advice.
always not financial advice. But it's such a personal thing, building your own portfolio and asking yourself, where does that fit into my life? Also, my degree is in financial planning. Personal financial planning is the official name. So like I literally have like my degree and what I should be doing if I followed that path was like sitting across from people as their financial planner and giving, like, managing their retirement, managing their taxes, being a certified financial planner. So I basically just like took everything that I learned in my schooling, and because I didn't want to get back in the books and go through all this accreditation, I didn't, care to get back into this corporate world of having bosses kind of like guiding you and telling you, oh, you need to do this, blah, blah, blah. So I just kind of, took what I learned in school, applied it to myself. So that's kind of where, my backbone is like everybody has a completely unique situation they bring to the table. And for that reason, it deserves and demands, individual attention and considering so many different variables. So with that being said, for me, from my perspective and in my, just like, I guess, relationship with Elrond and the decks, like, I like I said, so all my money that I made and saved got into cryptocurrency, and then it eventually moved into Elrond.
Mm-hmm.
And the DEX, when it launched, I'm not sure what the average kind of like allocation to the DEX was. I sold some cash at that point. Like, I just sold into cash just to kind of protect myself, because like I went into the DEX with like 95% of everything that I had saved. So I got to the point where like I had a lot of lock mechs, and I was, earning, it's gone down, but we'll just say an even 100% APR on these billions of locked mechs, like,
Yeah, yeah.
I won't get into numbers because the emphasis is that I had saved billions of locked mechs, and it was just sitting there. And like I said, like I'm impatient, and I got bored. It's like, farm, like, let's farm. Like, I'm just gonna keep farming this locked mechs.
Yeah.
And yes, 100,000% it's going to grow and it's going to improve. And anybody who calls locked mechs like it doesn't have any value, like, you're just objectively incorrect. Like, there are things that you can do with it. And is it working out from a price perspective? Like, I don't, like, maybe not. Like, that's just what people who want to, FUD online say, because again, like, you have the opportunity to farm and compete against this inflation.
Yeah.
So really it just kind of falls back on just my impatience and, having the freedom to kind of like do, cash is king, as they say. It gives you flexibility, it gives you freedom for, if wars break out, and the world goes to shit. It's like, okay, all I know is that, like, I think that just, like, my perspective on LockMex is not so much the future is bleak for Elrond and the decks. It's like, no, like, I'm a little bit too cynical when it comes to the world outlook and, like, my faith in humanity, to be honest. Like, so, and it's just like kind of this bear market mentality that led me to sell my lock mechs. So that's what I want to kind of emphasize. If you want me to share more about, specific issues I have with lock mechs at this point, I can do that.
I'd be
But I guess,
curious, yeah, and I mean, try to sum it up and keep it short, the TLDR version of it. But I mean, it is a valid conversation, and I'm glad that, I mean, it looks like Elrond itself has opened that conversation. Again, they're going to review the tokenomics, obviously, and I think that is something that they will release fairly shortly. But like, what are some things that you would be looking to change with locked mechs or mechs, and maybe even the decks in general?
yeah, and see, that like brings up like a really great point, because like the truth is, like, what, like, it's hard for me to kind of think about what they might do to mechs or lock mechs, or what needs to, quote unquote, needs to be improved. Because, like, again, like, taking some steps back, it's like, I believe in the decks, I believe in lock mechs, I believe in the team, and I know that they're going to make it work. Like, they're not just, A, they're not dumb, and B, like, they have so much brain power that's going into making this work because they are focused on adoption. So with that being said, it's like, I think that I didn't realize that lock mechs was going to be kind of like a movable asset. Like, in the past, I had used some staking protocols that literally like locked your, similar to how, ZoidPay has their shopping pools. Like that ZoidPay that I sent to them is locked, and like it's not mine to do anything with. So I think at the beginning I was, and I'm still confused, and I think this is coming with this MEX economics and utility upgrade, that they're going to start to put more focus on MEX on the MyR exchange.
Yeah, which would
Like,
make a lot of sense. Yeah, being able
and that,
to stake and swap and etc. Yeah.
yeah, actually make it, just like, I love everything I just said, like all thumbs up, but it's just like it seems like to me, like why didn't it seems like they missed an opportunity with MEX. I'm not saying that they did. I'm not like accusing, but it's just, to me, it was just confusing. It was like, I thought that the way into the decks was through MEX. I thought that you weren't going to get, and you weren't going to get all these crazy farming rewards without MEX. And whenever I first logged on and it went live and everything was going crazy, I was just trying to learn, and eventually, or slowly, like much more slowly, it dawned on me that's like, and especially once Ride came out, because when Ride happened, at that point, you literally did not need MEX to get farming rewards.
Yeah.
Because, up until that, it was USDC paired with Elrond, MEX paired with Elrond. So at some point, you did need some MEX, but once Ride came along, it was like, you literally don't need MEX. And at that point, I really started to question my own ownership in MEX as I saw its value, looking at the MEX versus Elrond chart. It was always just like, I don't know, like Elrond is kind of like what got me to where I am in life per se. And, cash is king. It gives you kind of the freedom to do what you want with it. So really it's not so much that I don't agree or think that the direction of MEX or lock MEX is a good one. It's more so just like, I don't know, like I'm more in this realm of wealth preservation than I am so much, more willing to like take a gamble per se on lock MEX, even though I sit here happily saying it's going to get there. Like, I guess I remember saying this in an episode of podcast Elrond. It's just like, I just wanted to respect the team, and I didn't want to be like, who knows if this is the majority out there, but like I did not want to be, a LockMex owner and kind of being like, yo team, like when are you going to do something? When are you going to make it better? First class citizen. Like I didn't want to be, kind of as I depicted it, as I spoke with Alec, was like, I don't want to be like, quote unquote, like sitting in the office with all these Elrond devs working their fucking brains off and being like, oh, I'm not happy with what you've done with LockMex. It's like, screw it. Like, I'm just going to sell out into Elrond because Elrond works for me right now, and I think it will give me more room to just like, I don't know, be confident. As obviously we've gone down and prices have gotten much lower than I expected. It's like, yo, like I'm still on Twitter, like trying to, rally the troops and get people excited and try to just like keep on that mentality. And that's kind of what I was preparing for personally whenever I decided to swap my LockMex. Was like, I want to be able, my view is longevity, and I'm not at a place where I need MEX or LockMex to work out for me like perhaps some people do. Like, I think the opportunity for MEX right now is just simply incredible. And I think that everybody who's buying MEX, and especially LockMex, like, yo, like 100% NFA, but it's going to work out for you. But it's a matter of time. And like I said, I'm impatient, and I wanted to strategize, this entire kind of like lifestyle, but also just like this strategy along with it. So it's very complicated, and it does have a lot to do with tokenomics and technical analysis, and comparing MEX versus Elrond charts. So it gets really deep, and like it's too much to say, to be honest. But
yeah. And there's also new opportunities. I mean, with the launch of Ethereum, with the launch of Ride, with the launch of Zoid, although that wasn't launched on the DEX, and BHAT and all that stuff joining now. Like there are other coins, native USDT tokens,
Mm-hmm.
to invest into and to diversify. And so I think it's a fair point to make, right? I mean, if you're unhappy with an asset, just don't hold it. And right now,
Yeah.
you do have the opportunity to swap it at a major loss, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
both a win-win for those who trust in it and get rewarded long term, and those who want the liquidity now and can invest in things that they do trust in. And I think that is fine. I mean, I always like the sort of big conversations and arguments and people getting angry at each other on Twitter over this, because it's like those are personal choices to the
Yeah.
largest degree, and if it doesn't work for you, it's legit. For whatever reason, like, don't hold on to it. I'm happier for someone to sell an asset than keep fudding it. So
Yeah.
that to me seems fair.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing, then let's play a couple games of chess while still
Cool.
talking about the Elrond thing. I do
Yeah.
just sort of your general outlook, Elrond in a
Mm-hmm.
few months, in a year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I think it just goes back to, I mean, you've asked some great questions here, and I think this chat is painting a great picture altogether. Because again, like what drew me to Elrond was I think that it's a viable protocol to flip Bitcoin, and even if Bitcoin does remain top dog forever, which I don't think it will, like Elrond is going to. It's literally like I love what the team says. They're positioned. They are positioned in the scheme of the market in terms of market cap. They're not a top 20, a top 10, a top 5 coin. Like there is a lot of room, and that's also what drew my attention to Elrond too. Was in 2017, 2018, I saw coins towards the top of market cap, and it's like I already missed those. Like I need to find something that's smaller, and that's whenever I found Elrond because it was low, and I was like, yo, this is like a no-brainer how undervalued this is. And I mean, again, like it's kind of like a broken record, but it's like I still fully believe that. Like, and I might have you repeat the question just so I can get back on track to answering it.
Just sort of the outlook of Elrond with what's coming. Like,
Yeah,
maybe you want
yeah.
to talk about the bridge, the adoption, where you see things headed.
I'm so bullish, and like obviously it's like a big NFA, but dude, like my opinion has not wavered. Like I still believe that Elrond is going to flip Bitcoin. I believe that it is the one that will do it. It sounds so like epic. It's like it's the one.
We
But
do need
yo,
music every
like
time you say that. Yeah.
yeah. It's just, again, it's still just a no-brainer to me, and I've taken everything one step at a time with Elrond in terms of, oh, cool, like Delegator's waiting list. I'll get some Elrond. That's unexpected. That's extra. And then the staking was more. And then, truthfully, man, like I didn't even care to acknowledge, when a Dex might be coming because I was just like, it'll come once it's ready, and when it does, it'll be great. So I am very thankful to like every little piece that's come along. And with that being said, it's like, holy shit, like they are truly making, I mean, the fact that it's built on such a solid protocol as Elrond and everything they're building on top of it, like, man, like the Ethereum bridge is going to, of course, open a new chapter, as Benjamin likes to say. And then truthfully, I said this many times that like, I look forward to them adding utility. Like I'm not, because I sold my LockMex, it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm a LockMex bear. I hope it fails. It's like, no, like I want everything to succeed, and I believe that it will. And it's just like a slow process, and we can have our opinions about how they do things and the order that they do it and the speed that they do it. But it's like, yo, like they're gonna take steps at a time, but eventually you'll just kind of like get to a place where you're looking back at what they promised, what they delivered, and then just being like, holy shit, like snapping into reality and be like, damn, like this picture is being painted. And it's gosh, again, I don't know if that really answered the question,
Yeah.
but just
Fair.
adoption is going to happen. Like there's just like especially I love that we're in this bear market, and what happened to Terra is not ideal. But as I've talked about it on Twitter, it's like very parallel figuratively to just like being sick and like throwing up, like you feel the sickness coming, and then like you're just like, oh shit, I'm gonna hurl, and then you throw up and you're like, oh, am I done? And you do it again, and it's like, am I ever gonna stop? But it's like as soon as your body is done kind of ridding the sickness, it's like you feel this like newness, this like lightness, and this like life. And that's, we're in the kind of the midst of like, this capitulation, like, oh my God, like, is everything just going to continue to go down? But it's like, yo, like, all it's going to do is it's going to float these quality projects like Elrond higher and higher. And, the more that happens, the supply and demand metrics are going to come into effect. And I truly believe that I put it in a post just yesterday. I said at the bottom, it's like, yo, like so many things are going to be building and using Elrond that literally it is going to be a scarce asset by what it's being used for alone, and then add in all of the Elrond that people are accumulating and staking. And it's like, honestly, I am a little bit scared and nervous to where cryptocurrency will go because I understand how powerful it is. So,
Well, I mean, we could end on this, but we do have a game of chess to play, I think.
for sure, for sure.
So let me challenge you.
Alrighty.
Throw this up. Do you play a little chess sometimes?
I played chess quite a bit in college. It was one of my favorite things to invite people to go do at like a coffee shop.
Nice.
But it's one of those things. Also, am I supposed to be looking on something?
Just check. Are you on the browser or on the app?
I am on the browser.
I think
I have.
in the top right, there's like a little cross sword thing.
Oh, sick.
You can just accept the challenge there, I think. Nice. I also do have some audience questions for you soon. So anybody who wants to type anything, any questions for Steven, just put them ideally in the YouTube chat, because I don't want to be bothered looking at Twitter now.
You have to remain focused.
Yeah, you were in a chess club, or just casually sort of?
It was like my own personal chess club. Like I just had like a few friends that I would ask, and they would express interest in playing chess, and I would just kind of hit them up regularly just to play together. Brother at the time was pretty good. Nice. I still remember beating him for the first time. That was a sweet success. But yeah, it was one of those things that kind of came and went. But it's I question for you, but before you answer it, like what I loved about chess was, it's one of those things that to me, like the more I played it and kind of got into the game, it was a similar thing to like technical analysis and like economics with chess, to where I would like in a weird, so freaking like abstract weird way, like I would see the game of chess like represented in real life, like in human behavior in like different ways. And like I don't know, that was to me like a level of like chess that I was probably like most in it. But you got to keep up with it, or else you like lose that.
100%. Yeah, I'm in that phase.
Like,
I'm in the chess bear market at the moment.
Oh, for real? Does that mean like you've been
I've been
like
lazy
not
with
playing
it,
as much,
for
or
sure. Yeah. I mean, now I'm getting back into it. I'm doing this too, right? Because it's awesome, and now I'm sort of like it's re-piqued my interest in sort of getting better, because I've been, by the way, it's your move.
Yeah, okay, I see that. I accidentally had the screen on full on Zoom.
No worries.
So yeah, we'll kick this off. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this whole thing has sort of like reinvigorated my desire to get better again, right? Because it's, first of all, it's embarrassing to play like strangers and then get wrecked and stuff like that, but also it's just such a fun, great game. And I think what you were saying to me, very, very true, the sort of how it mirrors a lot of things, how you can learn so much from the different elements of the game, and all of these things are very much true. And I also think it really, it's very much compatible with finance and with investment, and so many skills are similar or even the same, or at least very helpful in terms of like, let's just say patience, strategy, thinking ahead, all of these things that are, if you have these skills, you're so much better off than your competitors or other people who don't have these same skills.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, just because we chat here on this, hopefully it doesn't mean we can't ever play together. Because, again, like I really enjoyed getting into that weird, like, I am struggling with the word, but just like this feeling that I was kind of referring to there of just like, also, are we on a timer here? Is this a rush match type thing?
It's a time game, but like I said before, you take your time. I can give you time whenever you run out or run low. Like right now,
Okay.
look, I already gave you enough.
Oh, I see. I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
Understood.
But yeah, I mean, the chess thing, the investment thing, I think so many valuable skills to learn there, and it's something that I also wanted to touch on anyway with you, sort of financial literacy. I mean, you went to school literally for finance, so we can consider you financially literate. But in terms of sort of the education system and the sort of surroundings that people usually grow up in, and never being able to really learn about. Wow, I like it. Learn about how to even do their taxes or any real life skills at school. I also think like crypto, Web3, investing even tiny amounts in crypto assets, like that is such a great opportunity to educate as well. And I wonder what your thoughts on that are, especially since you basically act as an educator.
Yeah, it's a tough question because it kind of strikes a chord with me just in terms of asking why financial literacy isn't included K through 12. I'm actually, if you're comfortable sharing, where are you from? Where did you grow up? Like, would help me kind of understand at least a little bit.
So I grew up between the U.S. and Germany. I grew up. Most of my high school years were spent in Germany, and then
Got you.
I've been living in New York for the past for like 7 years, I think. And then the pandemic
Hmm.
happened, and I figured Berlin was a nicer place to shelter. So I went
Nice.
back to Berlin. Coming back to the U.S. in I think August, moving to California,
Nice.
if that
Sick.
helps. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
so
mean,
you've
it's
been,
the same thing across education systems, I would say. I mean, there is no semblance of financial literacy being taught at school, in
hmm.
be it an American high school or at least not the ones I attended, or a German high school. So it's very much, I think, under taught, and even
Yeah.
in at universities, college, like there's there isn't really, like, even if you graduate with a master's degree and you've never had a job, like you still don't know how to do taxes. And at this point,
Hmm.
you're what, 28, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Frick taxes, by the way. Taxes, nobody likes taxes, right?
that is true. But they do pay for
Mm.
wars.
Yeah, that's very true, and everybody loves war, right? But yeah, that's is a question of mine that I had probably once I really understood that personal financial planning was a major. And this is very much like that hot ones where like you need to focus on something, but you also have like, um, you know, to give an answer. And I think this is where you get people right. Because and it's been my turn for a while now, and I'm trying to think and speak.
I know, yeah.
Um,
That's the
but
trick.
it's not like this game is life or death, right?
I thought we
Right?
were playing for 1,000 Elrond, but okay,
Oh,
may
damn.
have misunderstood.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you can show it in writing, then word is bond. Um. Okay. Okay. I'm almost there.
You take your
I get
time. It's fine.
self-conscious because I want to give you a thoughtful response, but I also want to. Oh, but in both
In
ways,
both
both
ways,
verbally
yes,
and.
yes.
All right.
I can, while you think, I can go through some of the questions on from the YouTube chat, which is something I'm also interested in. I was going to ask you something similar. Is there like a, for example, the bridge, right?
Hmm.
There is some scenario, right, where just nobody uses that fucking bridge, right? And they're like, okay,
Hmm.
cool, you build a bridge, but we're not going to use it.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
are there like scenarios that you are scared about, that you would think like, oh, that is actually a worrying sign? I mean, we have all these things in place, and well, they're all great, but fuck, nobody cares about them, nobody uses them,
Yeah.
and now we have a problem, because at some point we do have a problem if that happens.
Totally. So the question is basically just like, what if the bridge doesn't pan out? Like, what if it doesn't have the effect that we all hope for? And basically, like what Benjamin has kind of been hyping us up around, which is like, oh, like this mega wave type thing. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a valid question, and that does, thoughts like that, kind of like that avenue of thought, definitely do. Excuse me. Those play into the LockMex conversation too, because at the end of the day, like, these are unknowns, and this is a bit of a risk.
Mm.
Um, so with that being said, like, I think that Ethereum obviously is kind of broken. I think, especially with the recent, I can't remember I know it was like Bored Ape Yacht Club, but I can't remember the actual like people that did it. Like the whatever
Yeah,
the
I'm
name
spacing on
is.
it too at the moment. Yeah, the land
Yeah,
sale essentially.
yeah.
Yeah.
That to me showed that like literally like it's not scalable, and it's also just like so ridiculously expensive. So I don't know. I think it's still, when the bridge comes, like I would be surprised if it really was this just like insane cascade waterfall. Like, if anything, I think that, similar to me, whenever Elrond really started to explode in value, that's what drew my attention in and allowed me to understand, the true value that was there. So that's what I think the natural progression will be. I think that the Elrond Bridge will be a catalyst for people to gain all the more confidence back in the team, if in case they did lose any. And I think that the price will basically change in such a way that it's going to increase, and that supply shock may come into play. And dang, I thought you were gonna I thought we were gonna trade our knights there, but not yet.
Could have. I considered
Um,
it. I considered it.
yeah, you're coming back at me with responses so quickly. That's always like
Well, you're giving me a lot of time to think, to be fair. I'm also very used to playing, like, the reason my chess progress has stalled, really, is because I
Mm-hmm.
only play these fast games, right? Because,
Ah.
it's not the best way to learn, because you sort of repeat, train some muscles, and there's
Mm-hmm.
something to be said about, like, that sort of muscle memory where you just move quickly and find, like, good enough moves.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you really want to get better, there's really no way around, just putting in the time. And putting in the time basically does mean that you're playing slow games or studying, rather than
Yeah.
just like doing this sort of hobbyist. Well, I'll just move some pieces here and there, and like my
Yeah.
understanding is pretty good, but it doesn't really get better. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, one of the big reasons I've been. I used to study, like I used to have really sort of the master's title on my agenda, and then I with work I
In
was
terms of like schooling,
no, just
what do
like
you mean by that?
I was playing a lot, and I was studying quite a bit, and I thought, and my rating was high enough that I could have gotten like a title, a
Mm-hmm.
national master title. But for that, you need to play tournaments. And playing
Yeah.
tournaments means that you need to, take the time to play a tournament. And taking the time to play a tournament means that you need to play these tournaments that are like one game per day for
Mm-hmm.
like every Wednesday was at the Marshall in New York, and like I didn't have the time to commit because of other obligations to play every Wednesday, and so I never really got the live rating to get where it needed to be. So yeah, and I just ended up playing these fast games a lot,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice and fun and whatnot. But the hard work is done when you actually study, and that I didn't do, or haven't done in a long, long time now.
Yeah. So you definitely like studied hard and kind of had your time in really kind of pushing yourself, it sounds, in the realm of chess, that is.
Yeah, I mean, I shout out to my friend Cam. Cam and I played chess one, I don't know, like Christmas time at my
Mm-hmm.
at that time my girlfriend's house, and I was he was on the board of the Marshall, the chess club I was just talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, let's play a game of chess, and I was like, okay, sure. and and so we did play a game of chess, and I thought, well, I'm not completely stupid, so I don't think I'll win, but I'll give him a game, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
the I think, like, let's just say 10 moves, 20 moves later, I was checkmated. I was like, what the fuck just
Mm.
happened? Let's play again. And then the second time he beat me even faster. Like, it was like completely lost after a few moves, essentially. He was like, what the fuck? This just can't be right.
Yeah.
And the truth is, if you are good at chess and you're playing against someone who's a little bit worse at chess, you're gonna win basically every time. Um, and if the gap is quite high, then you're gonna win very quickly, basically every
Mm-hmm.
time. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, that sort of that irked me enough. I was like, I can't be this stupid, because the aggravating thing about chess is that everything is your fault. You have exactly the same
Yeah.
information as your opponent, right? It's just who puts together the pieces faster. And so that's when I was like, okay, I can't, I will never be beaten like this again, by at least not by Cameron.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I started studying. And it's a rabbit hole. I mean, it's like crypto. It's like it's like a lot of these things where you just like, once you learn one thing, you start understanding how little you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Totally.
if you want to be serious about it, there's just no stopping, really. But yeah.
Yeah. I
Yuga
was
Labs, by the way. Thank you, Taco. That's
nice.
the Bored Apes people.
I kind of played. I got myself into a pickle here. For a second there, I felt like okay about my position, but now I'm kind of like, having to think through my moves a little bit more here. It's like, where did all my pieces go?
You did donate a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe while you think, I'll ask another question that was asked by
Mm-hmm.
the good folks from Combase. Not sure if you're familiar with them, but they do some cool stuff too. Um, what? Oh yeah, and we haven't even touched on NFTs. So this concerns
Mm-hmm.
NFTs. What would you say the main differentiator for a new NFT project to launch on Elrond is compared to Solana or Ethereum?
Could you say the question again?
Basically, what's the difference? What would you say the important differences between Solana, Ethereum, and Elrond are when it comes to the NFT space? I think is how I would translate that.
Hmm. I mean, you put me in check, and then you ask me a question. And it's like, all right, like you keep on doing this thing where it's like, all right, we'll let you think about your move while I ask you another question. It's like I'm like
I am
like I've
I
got
am
several guns pointed at me.
I'm guilty of that.
Um,
I agree.
and this timer keeps on like going down and making me anxious. So
Look
you're really fucking with me.
here.
And
I'm
now I'm
trying.
about to lose fucking lots of points. Maybe I see it. It's kind of stupid because at this point it's like, damn, like I don't think, like I almost want to just tip my king. Like, I don't think that I'm winning this game. Like, I
Yeah, we can
really.
just start a new game. I'll give you.
Well, we can at least play it out if you want.
No, I mean, no, we don't need to play it out.
I mean, cause so what? Like, obviously being a knight, like, I need to move my king. So you're gonna take my rook, and at that point, like, I'm just like losing pieces. So I don't know. We can play a few more moves at least,
Okay.
just to play it out,
Go ahead.
see what happened. You know.
I will take the rook then.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Maybe I can pull a fast one on you. You know, you didn't see something I was brewing this whole time,
I hope
and
so.
now you're gonna be screwed, blued, and tattooed. Damn it. Okay, get out of here.
Okay,
Oh,
I'll
fuck
come
me.
back in.
God damn it.
But this is something.
I didn't think through that move at all. Like, I literally just sacrificed. I don't know if there was a better move for me to make there, but I was just like, I'll just put my pawn in the way, and that'll fix the problem, right? Sure.
I think so. So if I'm gonna start answering the question a little bit that I just asked about. That was just asked about the NFT space, which is I think
Fuck me.
and I think it's sort of one of the main points when you talk about like why you're excited about Elrond versus other chains or in comparison to other chains, what you can do here, and like one of the things that for me stands out about Elrond and in the NFT space, I mean the most obvious being price, right? In terms of minting, in terms of and then ownership is a big issue. But I just wonder what you what sort of are the most, why you think, or if you even think NFTs will play a major role in adoption, and then how you see Elrond positioned versus other chains.
Yeah. So relating back to what I mentioned about the ICO phase and how everybody was kind of like yelling. Is that it?
That was checkmate.
Okay,
Wait,
okay.
actually, don't accept the rematch. I'll give you a head start in the next game, and we
Nice,
should
yeah,
probably
that'd be
wrap
great.
up. I should let you go. But
For sure, time flies.
time really did fly with this one. I enjoyed it very much, though.
Lots to talk about, for sure.
I know it's too much. We gotta just maybe we'll just keep the other questions for another episode or something.
Either that or, I mean, we're at least gonna have to rematch whenever I'm not on the spotlight here because,
That is
like,
true. Yeah.
like I said, like how
Any-
you felt. Go ahead.
Anytime, any day. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you said your friend wiped the floor with you and just like, I'm not gonna let that happen again. It's like I know that I can perform better. I'm, for the record, you know, maybe I'm just like, you know, this is a pride thing, but it's like I'm here just having fun, you know, playing some chess. Like, don't judge me too hard on my ass kicking on the chessboard, everybody. So.
No, nobody does.
Alrighty.
But yeah, what do
So
you how do you feel about the NFT relating first
Dude.
as a competitor with other chains? Obviously, you should see challenge top right again.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait to accept that because I want to give
Okay.
a thoughtful response. You
Okay,
know?
and also like in terms of NFTs driving adoption.
Yeah, dude. So like, one of the more significant things, I think we all are familiar with the MyArt app and how simple it is to use. You know, just this UI UX aspect. And I can speak firsthand that, again, like Ethereum came along and I heard about NFTs about like a year, 3 months ago when I first heard NFTs, and I'm just like, all right, some bullshit like rug something, like somebody trying to make money and then run. But then turned out it was a legitimate idea that I came to learn about. But it wasn't something I was interested on Ethereum. So literally, dude, like once Elrond came along and released their NFTs and how well it, I mean, just it's just incorporated with the Get My R app, or not the Get My R, that's the Twitter, is Get My R, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just like, dude, like I can speak firsthand that like NFTs are very addictive, and whenever you make the basically like the road to acquiring them as easy as I believe the MyArt app does, in addition to the simplicity. And I mean, I see people on Cardano being like, oh, I bought an NFT and it showed up in my wallet immediately. It's like, sounds like Elrond, like that seems like it should be expected. I think that just the ease of use, obviously the low transactions, and the big one being the true ownership that NFTs on Elrond represents. There's not, as far as I understand so far, not room for manipulation in smart contracts to drain wallets and just be mischievous or whatever. I think that NFTs are going places, and it's degen. It's like it's truthfully like there is value proposition to what a NFT is, non-fungible token, and there's always going to be a camp of people who say it's just JPEGs, and like it's not like, as they say, like, seems pretty fungible to me. It's like, okay, well, like, it is, and like, sure, you can screenshot it, but you're missing the idea. Like, you're missing the bigger picture and then kind of like the underlying value. It's like, screenshot, it doesn't matter. Like, you can take a photo of a home, but you can't sell the home. And I mean, I believe that NFTs will totally transfer to real estate, and I mean, it's going to digitize everything. It represents ownership, and it's all on an immutable blockchain that doesn't rely on a third party, and it's simple and easy. And so wherever you draw the line in the sand of what an NFT is, like, I mean, especially as it grows, this industry in and of itself, like, we're going to continue to see people utilizing this technology in ways that we couldn't foresee. We didn't know that it was going to happen or be used in that way. So does that answer the question, kind of?
Yeah,
at least
very much
cool.
So. I mean,
because I'm not. So I've also, disclaimer, I've only used NFTs on Elrond. I've never bought a Solana or Ethereum. Like, I've never been on OpenSea. So I admit that I'm partially kind of like undereducated, I'll say, in the realm of NFTs, because I'm just such a big Elrond fanboy.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of me too. I always thought NFTs were a scam, and then I thought they were a scam when I joined my first NFT, or I didn't understand it at all. Let's say when I joined the first projects on Elrond, and then I sort of understood that. I mean,
wait, did you put a handicap on yourself?
I put the queen away.
I think that's, normally if we were just playing, I would say no. But I feel like that's a little bit fair, since
exactly,
you keep on asking me all these damn questions. You're gonna be on Twitter and just immediately you're gonna be like, Economystic is shit chess player. Like,
have you seen me post any? No, I would never do that.
No, man, I'm playing with you.
You're also not bad. I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, if you're playing a player that is just has a significant edge on you, then it's just hard to be very competitive with these games. But that's, this is not the point. The point is, like, it's the coffee house chess thing. It's not. It's about the community, and it's about hanging out and having a conversation, much more than being, a chess master. Although you did set the bar pretty high with your name right there.
Damn it, you're right. I totally forgot about that. People are gonna call me a phony, chess master. I don't know if there's any way around that. Like, chess master. That sounds like a pretty lofty kind of title there. I can't manipulate that around to my favor.
1468. What's the 1468? Is that what
those were just random characters,
numbers? Okay. That's not your secret phrase or anything.
No. But the way am trying to view it anyway, is like how I changed my name to the LockMex Monster.
Yeah.
Because some people who are LockMex monsters, they're like, oh, give me all the LockMex, but like I'm like the opposite of that. Like, I'm literally like this, like, and when I changed my name to that, like, I was, in the middle of getting, my ass handed to me by everybody who disagreed with me anytime I brought up my questions about LockMex.
Yeah.
And, I kind of quieted down on that front, because I think that my just my thought processes were just too, they were a little bit unnecessary. And I think, that the not to say hopium, but like just the trust in the team is something that probably should be emphasized a little bit more, rather than like, I'm going to question this because like I'm going to try to trade this according to my own personal investment strategy and area in life. So it's just like there's way too much context for me to really just become like a true like Lock Mex FUD boy. But that's kind of how I carry it along, is like I still am, the Lock Mex monster, because it's just like I view it kind of funny. It's just like some people could like see me on Twitter and be like, oh, he's such a monster. How could he say that about Lock Mex? Like, what a monster, like. So I try to have fun with those names, but anyway, Chessmaster 1468 did not live up to expectations.
I mean, you may have
All right.
tanked your own, price there by sharing your thoughts on Locked Max, right? Too.
Say again?
I mean, your the value of the Locked Max you were trying to sell may have gone down because of the thoughts you shared as well. So, fair enough.
Yeah, it's something that I also like. I think it would just be really foolish to really, it's always NFA or whatever, but like really give any like non-financial advice, like, because I found myself sharing my opinions about LockMex, and then that obviously the next question is like, okie dokie, like, do I make the swap too? Asks the person behind the computer
Yeah.
screen seeing these tweets, and it's like I sold my LockMex at a different price.
Yeah.
So the loss to take at this point is really at a point where I actually haven't exchanged LockMex in a while, and that's because I'm not making as much, and that has to do with where my portfolio is allocated, and also too, like, again, like I still believe in LockMex. Like I don't necessarily want to have none of it, but if and when the time comes that I find it to be, not to say that I expect it to be first class citizen. I'm not sure what in the hell that really means. So, I mean, that's the one stipulation I will put, that the team definitely guided our paths with what they told us and these titles that they gave. And that's the one thing I disapprove of. And truthfully, like, that is kind of what led me to like execute, like, decisions, because it was just like, this is just like not leaving a good taste in my mouth. Like, I don't know what they mean by by first class citizen, and like that's just like, what does that mean? And we're still trying to figure it out. And I think that it's a great title for those that can have the patience, for those that trust the process and are playing the long game. But for me, being impatient, being interested in kind of having more possession, I will say, of my own assets, I just moved a little bit quickly on that. So I when I was making those swaps, I kind of confronted the fact that I will look back on this. I mean, I at least played out the narrative. It's like, man, I wonder if I'm going to regret this. But I mean, I always fell back on this idea of like, but like, it's not like I'm just like, throwing my LockMex in the wind, see you later. It's like I traded it for Elrond. So it's like, to me, at the price, even though it was a loss back then, like, it wasn't a complete loss, because like, I mean, I've been earning more Elrond, and
And you
that's,
can
like I
reinvest
said,
it in other assets, like we pointed out before, that you invest in, that you believe in, that you earn
Yeah.
APR, APYs on. Like, yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's fair enough.
Yeah. So I like I said, I'm all green light on the Maillard decks and LockMex, and I think that it's going again. It's the Serenation is a guy that do you follow that
Yeah.
person? I don't want to assume their gender, but
I think we
you
can
know.
safely, though, in this
I don't
case.
know, actually. Like,
No?
I
Okay.
mean, just in terms of like literally just assuming their gender, or do you know something that like
I don't know. I don't remember. Oh, man. That I'll take
Oh
that.
no,
Um,
I just didn't see that. I don't know where that came from.
I thought you would focus on your rook being attacked. Um,
Shite.
I honestly, I couldn't point to any specific tweets there, and obviously,
I assume that they're a man,
yeah,
but I,
you
I,
never
I'm
know. You
I
never know. It's good to be
well,
careful.
I live in California,
Exactly.
so so I mean, I was raised in Kansas, and obviously my,
Different worlds.
you know, yeah, my
Yeah.
roots are going to define some of that, and I'm, just in all sorts of ways, like it's not like, don't get me wrong, like I support people's beliefs, and maybe I don't really see all the way through on some of these political debates, like just like gender and all that stuff. But what matters more to me, what matters most to me, is respecting people and at least showing that you acknowledge it and care.
Yeah.
So how do I feel about the gender spectrum? That's the question, but I'm still going to even though I may not maybe agree with any thought 100%, the backbone of how I see every kind of political topic is just like, I'm not really trying to make enemies with people. But that becomes challenging whenever I play this kind of complacent role, this moderate, like unopinionated moderate.
Mm.
Because if people start to challenge me on my beliefs, or if I like something like irks me like truly, that I feel is kind of like wrong from like a deeper perspective, it's like, all right, like this is why I don't get to this level, because like if you bring the fight to me, like I am a very firm believer in what's in my brain, in what's brought me to who I am. And it irks me whenever anytime people just make judgments. So I
Yeah.
try to be slow to speak, but at the same time, there are lines in the sand for everybody.
For sure. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, I don't think we as a pair are necessarily the best to talk about this, but I think a super important aspect of sort of the opportunity of crypto is too, like building a more inclusive world. Like, and one of the things, I mean, I have to fault myself here, right? I mean, you're the fifth guest, I think. There's been 0 women, and they're not
Oh, it's my
actually
turn.
not even that hard to find in this space. There's a lot of great creators, designers, developers that are not males, and
Yeah.
so that's definitely, if anybody has any recommendations who to bring on, obviously would love to open that conversation as well, as I think it's
Absolutely.
like one of the most important opportunities that crypto brings is really, or Web3 brings, is giving everybody a sort of equal opportunity to participate in it. Ooh,
At least if I can put you in check at
you
least
did.
once a game, like that's a win for me. I'll call it. I'll call it, even though I'm still getting brutalized. Sorry, what did you just kind of leave off with there?
Oh,
Women in
just
crypto, yeah.
yeah, women in crypto,
Yeah.
or sort of the opportunities of the space, and yeah, being able to maybe not repeat mistakes that the current version of society um, has made.
Yeah, I'm laughing at my just
You're
horrid
rust.
mistakes.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, I find it really hard. I mean, and this is really actually one of the big challenges of this format too. Like if and none of my guests have been very like avid chess players, right? Where it's like it's really hard to talk and play chess at the same time. It's really hard, and
Oh yeah.
people underestimate, I think, how hard that is. And so I don't
I'm
think there's any shame in this, and especially if you're not used to talking live and streaming and stuff like that, which I'm really not used to it either. But
true, true.
it's just really tricky to sort of like manage 50 different things at the same
Fuck
time.
your night. Like I don't even care. Like I'm just taking any win that I can get, like, oh yes.
Oh,
Fuck you.
yes, and you can get a rook here now too. Yes,
Yeah, now
and
you're
another
back in
check.
check.
Hell yeah.
Oh, damn it.
Hell
I'd
yeah.
say, and it's like I was so basking in the success of those few takes that I literally didn't realize that like my knight was about to say goodbye. Goodbye, Mr. Knight. Let's
Yeah.
see what I can do here. I was going to put you in check again, but then you're literally just going to take my bishop.
Yeah, don't
if
play
I do
that check.
Oh, are you saying that there's another check out there?
No, not currently. Not
No
currently.
checks.
No
No
checks.
checks available. Well, I mean, I can move this at least.
I wonder,
That's not a good move either.
by the way,
Hmm.
what you think about this too. I find, and I don't know if this conversation proves or disproves this, but chess to be such a great sort of social game and something that people can connect over and doing that. So I would be really sort of excited to and maybe there are some things in the works along these lines already, but having like a social club, that has chess, but also it's really about chatting and community and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fun thing to have.
Are you saying specifically like within somehow like leveraging the Elrond community itself, or
Mm,
what are you kind of depicting?
sure. I mean, I do want to, and this is something I've talked about with Amir from Caritha. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Something that I think often is sort of a mistaken assumption is always this idea. Well, Elrond is the next Ethereum killer, or is the next Bitcoin or something. You sometimes get roped up into this sort of tribalist
Mm-hmm.
views where you're like, oh,
Yeah.
we need to beat the other chain, or that while I think there is a legitimate future where all these things coexist and all of these things have their use cases and their legitimacy within the space.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I also believe that Elrond is superior to a bunch of these chains that have a much higher market cap, but doesn't mean that I don't see a use case for those chains.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So if it's a chess club, like it doesn't have to be an Elrond chess club. It can be just the crypto chess club, just a way for
Got you.
people
Yeah.
also to connect with
I see. Okay,
other
I understand what you're
communities,
saying
etc.
now.
Yeah, just as
Yeah,
sort of a social club and a way for people to hang out. Your camera,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. I'll just bump over to my
that's okay.
original. You'll get to see all my unflattering looks now. um, but yeah, I'm also laughing at my just few moves that I have. Like literally, just the options that I have are just like so limited. Um, but yeah, I totally dig what you're saying, and I really I support it too from a standpoint of just just whenever you get behind a computer, not you, but the objective you,
Mm-hmm.
whenever me, you, anyone gets behind a computer screen, and I've talked with this about or just on Twitter, I've been like, man, like it's crazy how like how different it is communicating through Twitter to profile pictures is, because like if I got in front of, I mean, I'll say 99% because there's always a 1%. Like if I got in front of 99% of people who I've ever disagreed with on Twitter about anything, like it kind of relates. Damn, what the? How did you play? Did you play your move in advance? Is that a
I
thing?
did, yeah.
God damn it, that's fucking bullshit. Um, but yeah, it's like I think I kind of mentioned it earlier. It's like my desire to respect uh, everybody. Really, my aim is to respect everybody, and like it's whenever we are actually humans coming together and forgetting this kind of tribalism of like, oh, I'm a part of this club or that club. It's like, yeah, I like that chess is and can be kind of a middle ground for people to come together. Also, I have 10 seconds left. Am I
Oh,
gonna
sorry.
lose if it?
Oh, there you go.
Nice. Because yeah, I think it's great to have a familiar place where we can kind of lower our, whether it be offenses or defenses, and kind of pick up a different tool to play with, quite literally. Um, so yeah, I support that, and I guess for the record, let me know if there's anything I can do in terms of like sharing that, or seeing if other people feel similarly, and just leveraging my audience to help kind of like what you kind of see as an opportunity there.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I just think it's so important, and also interestingly enough, right? These crypto assets are so so driven by the good game,
Damn it.
um, by by the
Game
community
over.
behind it, right?
Yeah.
And also like one of these statistic that keeps popping up sometimes is like the Twitter mentions or the hashtag mentions or whatever. These seem like sort of silly metrics at first, because like who cares like if people are shilling Elrond or Ethereum or whatever, but it does put a chain that has a real use case and is and can really drive adoption and can really open up opportunities for people around the globe to participate in a money system that doesn't depend on financial institutions that want your money and don't want to give you money. Like that is an exciting opportunity, and so it does actually make sense to share and to get it in front of people who might otherwise not see it. So I do think they're with all the I don't really buy into most of the sort of like hype bullshit and the shit coins that are get mentions out the.
But you never know, right?
Yeah, I mean, you sometimes you even work for one and make a nice bag from it.
Yeah.
Again, like I've never like sort of like you, I think what you were mentioning before, I've never sold a single thing really except Bitcoin for Luna for some reason.
Oh, so you got we never did. There are a few things we didn't ever get around talking about, so yeah.
We'll save that for next time.
Cool.
The way we both FOMO'd into greeded into fucking Luna and lost some money.
It's true. You don't want to admit it, but it was like, why else would I bought into that? It's like it was greed,
yeah.
And I thought that I was one step ahead. And
Me too.
yes, it was a gamble, but like it was just like I don't know. It's like I said it in one of the posts that I kind of roasted myself. It's like, guess I just wanted to feel something.
Yeah, exactly. sometimes, and again, as long, and this is what you kept emphasizing, and something that I played a bit of poker during the pandemic. Like, as long as you don't gamble more than you can afford to lose, you're okay.
Yeah.
And if that is just a bit of fucking around money, it is just a bit of fucking around money. Don't use more than a bit of fucking around money if you want to fuck around. So yeah, I mean, NFA always, etc.
Yeah.
But
like that loss for me sucked for sure. But it's almost like, I don't know, in the way I see it, like I was able to position myself to capture the market growth from just my diligence in the market since 2017 in weird sort of ways. Like I feel like I have to pay my dues here and there. And I really don't know if if deep down psychologically, like I knew that I was like going to lose that money. But I don't know. It's like,
good point.
I'm glad that it happened, because like literally, like we're playing chess here. Like whenever you get put in check rather than checkmate, of course, it's like you're getting checked. Like check yourself. Like, what moves are you making? Like what's your game plan? And would I elect to lose any money? Obviously the answer is no, but in weird sort of ways, like, you've got to take those losses as learning opportunities, and you got to freaking cross your fingers and look at yourself in the mirror, because again, you said it about chess, and it's same about trading. It's like you're the person moving the pieces, and you're the only person who's going to be responsible for those decisions that you make. So, getting put in check is a good thing. And, the hope is, of course, just that you don't go too hard into a high-risk bet and, really end up losing something that you've worked very, very hard to gain. So hopefully that wasn't the case for you.
No. Like I've learned my lesson, but I think those are great closing words. Hopefully we can continue this conversation with or without the chess element in the near future.
For sure.
Thank you so much for the time. Thank you everybody who tuned in, asked questions. If we didn't get around to answering one of them, maybe Stephen will be kind enough to do that on Twitter or something. I did see one that I think Jazz asked about your portfolio, but I think you said 95% is Elrond, so I think that answered that as well. So yeah, if anybody has any questions for Stephen, please let us know on Twitter. And then thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you, Stephen, for being a great guest and a good a valuable educator for all things crypto, but especially Elrond, of course.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I think it's great what you're doing here with the what do you call them, chess and chats, or what
Yep.
what is the name for these? Yeah, I think it's great, and I think it's going if it gives one more person the opportunity to learn about Elrond through these because they just so happen to like chess. It's like you're doing your part, and that's what it takes for everybody. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and check out. I'll post all the links to your podcast and whatnot.
Appreciate that.
That will be in the YouTube description, or already is actually. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you guys very soon.
Thanks
Bye.
again, man. Appreciate it.
And I think I ended it. Okay. Thanks so much.